How do you feel about it, though? I don't know about this Sven, John. Is it a good pick?
It's funny, mainly because the main thing it's funny is it's up against, the actual Sven now. Tiny's basically like Sven.
That's true.
Right?
That's
like
true.
Tiny is actually Sven. Like, who needs God Strength when you just grab a tree, you get your talent, you could do almost 2 times damage anyway, 100% uptime. Sven, he has to wait for it. His
Perfectly
cleave is
balanced.
nice, but his stun is alright. He has plus armor, plus move speed on Warcry. Unlike Tiny, who just has plus armor all the time. And I don't know. It's like, I can see why they needed some good wave clear to deal with Enchantress creeps down the line, to have this big tanky frontliner. And there is value in the Ags, I suppose. You could just try to jump in gap close with Tiny. I do not know how to feel about that matchup. I guess you could out DPS a Tiny if you have a good amount of farm. The question is if you'll be able to do that up against Enchantress and even the Shadow Shaman and the pressure they have on lanes. Like they'll just look to shove in. For TSpirit's part, this is tying up their team fight really well. I mean, Sand King plus Sven, once you do have that God Strength up and a couple of items up, you can just kind of clump them together, or hope that HellRaisers stay clumped together and just cleave through, maybe get a lucky crit or two as well, and be happy. But I am leaning towards HellRaisers in terms of draft. Like, there is that aspect of Sand King techies could be a really strong lane if you play it right, but HellRaisers just look so much more stable, right? Like, you've got Mars, you've got Ench, you've got Shadow Shaman Mars combination with the Spear, push with the Enchantress, Tiny, and Shadow Shaman. You have a lot of flexibility for your mid pickup here. It just looks a lot safer, whereas TSpirit, yeah, this is comfort. Yeah, you've got this amazing Bane that we've seen time and time and again deliver the goods, but it's very experimental. And as you mentioned, Mike, they might be bringing out big guns, stuff that they've tested before. This is one hell of a way to show it off in a potentially relegation match, though.
I love it, Jonathan. Who cares, right? It's relegation or not, who cares? You just go all out while you can against HellRaisers. They're bringing out something a little bit different, and I appreciate that. I still agree with you, John. It looks very weird when you look at TSpirit's draft right now. You just kind of try to assume what they're going to get up to with this kind of draft going on, but it's got me very excited for Game 1. I can tell you that, Jonathan. My biggest doubt, surprisingly, and you would have thought it was the techies, John, but it really is just the Sven. Like, how good is this hero really? And like you said, I mean, Tony is basically just Sven, but better. Like, he's the guy that the Sven's girlfriend tells him not to worry about. That's him. That's the big boy.
It's like
him and his massive tree, John. His tree trunk.
His massive tree trunk that's always available on hand. I don't know where we're going with this train trough. I'm very scared, but it's also like that meme where, you go to your mom, it's like, Mom, can we have Tiny? We have Tiny at home. It's Sven. That's your Tiny at home. Not quite it, but it's almost there. And it's kind of funny that Tiny's just basically the better Sven now. So I'm not sure how you tie this in for TSpirit. I mean, you could get something down mid that just really plays in with this team fight now. I do like the bands from HellRaisers, Pangolier, along with the Underlord. So, interesting band. Maybe expecting that Sand King mid flex. So we've seen that a couple of times, or maybe even just the Underlord mid is a possibility. If they want to dominate, percent-based damage does work wonders on something like Tiny. So that could have been one way to manage him in the laning phase and building up. But I'm not sure. I legitimately do not know what you combine with Sven. Like, Invoker would have been good for Alacrity, but the TSpirit banned that out themselves. HellRaisers, they pick up this Ember Spirit. You do have decent hold here from TSpirit. Like, again, Bane can do all the work there, but you have a lot of ways to cancel from HellRaisers. Shadow Shaman, Blink, and Aether Lens. Mars Spear is going to be enough, so getting a good grip in this match is going to be a bit tough for TSpirit, and they will go with a DK. Okay. So they've got stable foundation for themselves to play with as well. This is rather interesting. Almost like triple melee, triple strength lineup. It feels like if HellRaisers didn't lock in that Mars early on, they might have been able to go for like a Timber.
It's a mid Sand King, John. One of your favorites. Yeah, all right.
My favorites.
Favorites. You always carry on about Japoi mid Sand King, John. Come on now. You always carry on. You love this hero in the mid lane.
I mean, just because I say Japoi likes to play, it doesn't mean I like it when Japoi plays it. It's not exactly the thing. Now, the matchup against Ember is fairly good for Sand King. It's a melee hero matchup, but once you've got Sandstorm and a couple of points in Caustic, it feels really good to just farm. Whether or not you threaten the Ember is a different question. For the Flame Guard, again, not blocking all the damage means you will get the harassment onto the Ember, but it takes a little bit longer to burn through the shield. I am keen to see how much Collapse does on the offlane, though. Like, offlane DK plus techies, that could be really good. Dragon Tail into Sticky Bomb, Dragon Tail into Blast Off is a really strong combo, so that could still be a pretty annoying lane for our Tiny if they're not ready for it.
It certainly could be, John. I mean, it's one of those things, right? Like, you assume techies isn't that great, but then you lane against it, and it's like, well, hold on a minute. It's a lot of damage, a lot of slow, and just very annoying. Even with the base damage being kind of upped in that recent patch now, you kind of underestimate how much damage that little hero can do to you, just constantly just hitting away from a massive range, by the way. Like, let's not forget how long of a range this hero has, just harassing away against the Tiny, who has generally quite low base armor, at least before he hits that level 6 mark. So we'll see how it does go down for game number 1. I'm very excited. I love these drafts coming out, especially from TSpirit. I know you and I aren't very confident that their draft's going to work, Jonathan, but I appreciate the sentiment from TSpirit.
Yeah, I mean, it's different. Maybe they show us something about this Sven, why they're still confident with this special pick of theirs, because we just don't see anyone pick it. You know, everyone just thinks of Sven as a cheap Tiny clone, which is, again, hilarious if you think about that. But yeah, there is value, again, I suppose, in the Ags pickup in terms of gap closing, in terms of just jumping into that Sven and jumping into that Tiny, keeping him pinned down. And I suppose there's a very funny interaction with your Shard, although
5-on-5 smoke situation here. Level 1 team fight might happen. See if they go for it. There is going to be a bit of a wraparound here from Milady. Rebel is there as well. Maposh going to break the smoke. Milady going to run right into them. Who's going first, though? Sticky Bomb placed. They've got a double stun out from Yatoro. And Milady, he's just going to drop. No chance of survival. TSpirit, very nice positioning there with their own 5-man smoke. And it almost seemed like they couldn't believe they were getting a free kill gifted their way.
Yeah, they just had the wrong position on map. Great movement out from TSpirit to force the aggression out themselves.
I love this production team. Oh, you gotta love the production team.
Ah, God bless the funnies, man, as Neff wants to call himself now. He has been on point every time we see those pop-ups. Neff and Pitian, what a combination, Mike.
The best combination, Jonathan. Doesn't get much better than that. Be a bit of a fight over the bounty runes, it seems. Rebel gonna go ahead against Mirror. He'll be fine to get it, I think. We'll see who clicks faster. Looks like it is going to be the Ember. Milady, in fact, just showing up. Damage onto Mirror while he can. Yeah, go on, John.
I've got to ask this. Is it Milady or Malady? Like the word. It must be Malady, right?
Well, all right, we'll say Malady, John. I didn't realize Malady was a word, to be quite frank with you, John. Which is kind of sad, considering I'm the native English speaker. But there you go, Malady. Fine, John. You couldn't talk about this before we went live, so I didn't look like a complete moron?
Well, you know, I told you, I came in from a flight, it was delayed for 2 hours, I didn't want to miss this game, so I rushed in, and then suddenly the team fight broke out and you were just saying Milady. I was like, I can't stop you in the middle of that, Mike. Still, what we can't stop is this lane as well. No, Mike, no, I'm never interrupting you. What we can't stop is this lane. You are seeing that combination, right? You've got the level 1 Dragon Tail, you've got the Sticky Bomb. Issue is Mira can't trade with Malady, right? Like, he can't walk up, right-click trade. Sure, he has superior range. The Shadow Shaman has, like, 30 more damage. So you're always going to lose out anyway, and you are doing a good job here on Malady to just zone out, give Watson the space he needs to farm up. DK lane up against Tiny, you don't really stop him too much. You can annoy him with Dragon Tail, but whether or not Mira really wants to use that Sticky Bomb onto him is a different question. Level 3 starts to feel good. Again, once Blast Off Dragon Tail combinations there, you can look for the kill. I just fear that Malady's doing way too much here.
Collapse, he's dropping rather low. Malady not at that level 2 mark, so no Shackle's going to be up here, but already so much damage being dealt to the DK. Collapse having the easiest lane. In fact, Malady going to move in, going to try and go for the kill, but not going to have quite enough damage. Salve will come out from Mirror, so they do at least get an extra Aether Shock before they do commit the salve. Not too bad overall here for TSpirit, but it does seem like Watson's going to have a very good lane here on the Tiny. There's no real contest, at least for now. But we should have a look at the other lanes while we have a chance as well. Of course, you're going to have the mid lane. You've got your mid Sand King there against the mid Ember. Toronto, Tokyo. Rebel at it once again. Is this matchup meant to go a certain way? Like, we don't get to see Sand King versus Ember very often. What do you think about this? Like, who has the advantage?
I'd honestly say Sand King favored in terms of just wave clear, and in terms of playing with your small camp, getting your farm up. It is a much stronger farming lane for a Sand King, especially as soon as you hit level 4, level 5, it feels really good. Ember, again, he can kind of play around with Flame Guard. It's not the same presence you get out from Sandstorm. Sandstorm is just much more potent. The threat of Caustic Finale for a melee hero is always there, so it should feel pretty good for Toronto Tokyo. We should see a very, very fast blink, and he should be able to set that tempo for the team from that mid. Unless they start investing the movement here from HellRaisers, drop a sentry mid to help Rebel kind of handle that Sand King, Toronto Tokyo is not going to feel threatened here too much.
Okay. Of course, top lane, Yatoro. Well, in fact, hold that thought. There was a bit of damage happening bot lane, but top lane once again. Miposhka, Gilgo at it right now. And of course, you're going to have Yatoro gone and naturally Limitless there on the Mars. Seems like the Sven having a decent time so far. Like, Limitless, as much as he wants to, he can't really force Yatoro out of this lane, as the Mars should just be one of those kind of even trading lanes. Hell, I suppose the more concerning sign here is Miposhka is forced to run out of the lane as the Ench just constantly chasing him down. There's just not much a Bane can do, though, against the Enchantress. You are just kind of left to suffer. And to make matters worse now, you've got the Dark Troll Summoner. We'll see what he can get done with this. Doesn't have much time on it, though.
Not too much time, can't really line up for a push, but you are seeing that early presence come out from the Ench. It's just very hard to really stop from finding creeps, especially on the Radiant off lane. You still have a lot of jungle to dip into and cut off, and they do have that sentry ward blocking the large camp close by. Doesn't really matter for Gilgear. We'll go for the rotation on the 4-minute mark just to block off the bottle refill here for Toronto Tokyo, but you are at that point in the Sand King where, again, level 5, just focus on farm.
Malody's dropping quite low here, John Mira. He's going to have the blast off available. He's still going for the man fight. In fact, Sticky Bomb's now out. Malody very confident, but the shackles going to come out a bit too late. Mira able to secure a kill on the techies, and that'll be the first one of the game for him. Hopefully not the last.
Yeah, it's starting to pile on. You do have the level 3 up for Mira, so level 2 Sticky Bombs up. A little bit more damage, again, combination with Dragon Tail there. No value point in the blast off. So you can go for that combination with Collapse. And you're at that stabilizing point for TeamSpirit in that lane where you've got Dragon's Blood, so you're not going to be completely zoned out, and you should be able to stabilize. It's still looking like a strong start for HellRaisers despite falling behind in kills. Their CS is up all across the board. They're having a really good time on every hero, except for stopping Toronto Tokyo, which again, the Sand King just does have a slight edge over the Ember in that matchup. Everything else has been smooth sailing. Your Tiny's having a decent enough time. The Sven's kind of slowing down to an extent. It does feel like Tiny can eventually win that farm war, depending on the build-up here for Yatoro. So you are building up into that point, and I think the next step for HellRaisers here is to just wait for some levels to come up.
Yatoro top lane, Johnny's in big trouble. They've got the enchant off. He's dropping quite low, but Miposhka gonna be there to save the day still. There is one impetus shot, but it's not gonna be enough. Oh, 15 HP for Yatoro God. The stick charge is coming in clutch, and he'll walk back towards the fountain.
He gets to save his life, but he's going to be missing out on a lot of farm. Really good step back. He saw that impetus come in, walks a few units back, gets that last little HP to save himself. They will sacrifice Miposhka, but at least your Sven is safe.
Oh, Miposhka, he's still okay, but they are going to chase him down. Limitless is going to try and find out where this Bane's gone. He's going to be alright. In the meantime, Mira also in danger, is going to drop. They do have enough damage with all the remnants being committed from the Ember. In the meantime, though, Miposhka actually ended up surviving. Go for a bit of a nightmare, and Yatoro will follow up with the stun. I doubt they have enough damage, but they're going to try. Onto Limitless, but no, he's fine. Just walks his way out. He's salved up there by the Ench. Will be just fine. In fact, even some more bonus armor coming in from our enchantments. Very nice.
Just a nice little frost armor creep to annoy Yatoro just a little bit more. Your Sven is still, again, finding decent farm. You haven't had room to stack up here. Just from the movement coming out from a wrench. That's one aspect of the Enchantress as well. She invades your jungle, prevents the stack buildup. and just makes it really tough for you to build the resources up. They do manage to get the stacks up on the Ancient side, but they already have the Obs ward to kind of figure that out from HellRaisers. So they can contest really fast with their lineup. They could just drag the Tiny in, even just drop the wards if they wanted to eventually from Malady once the levels are up. And that's something TeamSpirit has to really be on point with defending. They can't afford to bleed that farm away to the side of HellRaisers.
Well, stun out. They've got the Ench now. Burrow Strike will be there. Toronto Tokyo to follow up as Malady does end up going down bot lane. So split kills across the map, but all of them go the way of Spirit. Both the support duo from HellRaisers dropping here, and it seems like Spirit are finding their footing in this game number 1 now. Just 1-4. There is going to still be a very slight net worth lead the way of HellRaisers, but it does feel like the kills currently going the way of TeamSpirit.
They're just working their combinations well. Again, Dragon Tail plus Blast Off. Really easy way to melt. You've got the levels up on Toronto Tokyo. Pops the Epicenter to get that kill. Worthwhile just to build up on that Sankin, rush that Blink Dagger. You do have to be a little bit weary of how much Rebel is getting out here. Like Phase Boots and Orb Corrosion up. Max level Slotted Fist. He does hit hard. I think, again, the only thing HellRaisers is lacking is just levels on the supports, particularly Malady. Like, you want the Shadow Shaman to have the wards up, to really get that push going, to have that presence in the lanes. You've got Arena to play with as well here for Limitless. So you have your cores ready to go, but the support's not quite at the point where they can really help to set up in a massive way just yet. And that is something Spirit's using quite nicely. They're just going back to farm, taking it slow, using this opportunity to build up on the cores that need that
nice
flash
dodge. Maposhka top lane, dodging the spear out. He might still drop, but he's going to go for a bit of a run. Now, I'm going to chase him down with the Ench, though, and it does seem like Maposhka eventually will go down here, but that was a nice dodge nonetheless. They are going to go for that top tier 1 tower now. Though TeamSpirit, they'll do the exact same thing down at bot lane. So it should be a very kind of even trade as mid lane. Yatoro is getting caught out as we speak. Rebel, he won't have the chains available. No chains being scored up yet, so he can't really lock him down. Yatoro going to be okay to walk his way out, but it does seem like HellRaisers looking to try and get a little bit more active as the time does go on.
Yeah, they're hitting that mark again where their supports are starting to build up. They've got this presence with push that they can pump out. Your Ember wants to look to be active at this point. Rebel again with Phase Boots Corrosion hits hard.
Malady, he's gone. There's one thing about techies, John. You may have changed the hero, but he still dishes out so much damage. That thing never changes.
Oh yeah, it's just consistent. Again, DK combination is pretty good. Like, the tier crafting does pay off. Limitless up top though.
Yeah, he's in trouble. Toronto Tokyo with a very nice initiation. Does end up committing the epicenter, but it's just well worth it. So he even gives the tip over to Yatoro. Not sure what he did to deserve that, but I mean, why the hell not? Just nice supportive teammates.
Yeah, he tried to Tumblr story forward. I think he wanted that kill with a Stormhammer. Doesn't quite find it. So A+ for the effort, at least. That is the blink reveal coming out from Toronto Tokyo, and that's the point where TeamSpirit, again, starts to look for the aggression. They're also building up onto that blink here for collapse. Double blinks up, lots of ways to take the angles in these fights. Rebel has to be really cautious once that DK blinks up, because he's going to be very susceptible to the chain sights.
Oh, here we go, mid lane, a bit of a fight breaking out as it looks like they've got the Sanking and they will take Toronto Tokyo down, but in the meantime, at least they'll find the end here for TeamSpirit. Problem is, though, HellRaisers more than ready to try and pressure the mid-tier 1 tower with the siege creep. They are getting away with it, and even the Serpent Ward's going to be dropped. Oh, they've even still got the Enchanted Creep around as well, just to make matters even worse for TeamSpirit. And I suppose this is one of the really big things that was always going to happen with these drafts. HellRaisers, they are going to have a very, very quick timing comparison to TeamSpirit, and well, these towers, they aren't going to last very long, that's for sure.
Definitely not, Mike, and I really appreciate Watson's build-up here. I think we've seen this a couple of times now. Hyperstone Rush, Moonshard Rush on the Tiny. So you're just going to be able to lay it in on the towers without too much of a taunt once you do get that Ag Shard up. This is just all in on like really quick siege, really quick fights, and it's a great counterpoint to, again, to look at the Sven build-up. You've got the Mask of Madness up on Yatoro, so he does have some attack speed for himself to play with, some lifesteal. But when that God Strength is down, a Tiny with a Moonshard, like it's gonna hit a lot harder, a lot faster in the middle of these fights as soon as that Ag Shard is up. So
I'm well aware.
I love this build. I love this build. It's just it's breaking the mold.
No, I hate
What do you
this build.
mean?
John, I've played against Tiny 3 times today, and I've lost every single time to the exact same Moonshard build. Like, how does this hero make any sense? 15 minutes, he's basically Sven, and all he needs is attack speed. Just give me a moon... Like, they literally just buy a Moonshard, and they've won the game. Backdoor protection can't stop them. They'll get a Silver Edge later on just because, hey, Invis. That seems kind of cool, you know? But this hero just makes no sense to me. Like, Tony's a bit too busted right now, I think. A little bit too busted. Like, if you can just buy a Moonshard and a Shards, and that's it, you're ready to just go tier 4 towers, I think there's a problem, Jonathan.
Yeah, I mean, Tiny does have a shortcomings. You know, he's still a highly kiteable hero. Range core matchups can feel really awkward for the Tiny. We've seen that multiple times with, say, Medusa. We've seen that with Drow. We've seen that to an extent with TB, but that's not as popular nowadays as the counterpoint to Tiny. Even sometimes TA, when it does get a snowball start, can make short work of Tiny. It's just that you don't have that range core on TSpirit to kite that hero around. Right, you've basically got triple melee cores. I guess DK is ranged if you have Dragon Form, but he's not really your biggest right clicker in the world. So I do worry for how TSpirit wants to answer that timing. Like, yeah, you do have really good stuns, but so does HellRaisers, and they have a lot of ways of protecting Watson. He's not going to be kited around all too easily in the middle of these engagements later on.
No, certainly not. I mean, what do you really have to kite him with? Like, you mentioned DK. There's a Bane, I guess. It's kind of annoying for the Tiny. Kind of not. It's a whatever thing. We'll see how it pans out in, maybe say 10 minutes. It's TSpirit. They're not going to be ready to fight anytime soon. I suppose as long as they can keep a bit of a net worth gap closed up here between the two teams, TSpirit will be quite satisfied with themselves, but they've just got to kind of get through the storm that is coming right now. And well, HellRaisers, they can certainly just keep the push up every single time they've got the Serpent Wards up. Malady, he's about 20 seconds away from that. You're always going to have the Enchanted Creeps available here from the Enchantress, so that's no problem. And it already seems like they're setting up towards the north. You've got the Serpent Wards coming. You've got the Enchanted Creeps. Why the hell not? Just start chipping away at the tier 2 tower. And that's going to force TSpirit to try and 3-man smoke up and try to rotate, retake their own jungle. Can they get it done, though?
They're just going to take Roche. And drop the wards. That still hasn't changed as well. Not going to take too long with a minus armor coming through from the Orb of Corrosion. They do have really good wards to spot this as well from HellRaisers to defend their position. Although...
yeah, Collapse going to move in. They've got the Tiny into the Fiend's Grip, Watson. Well, I guess you can't get kited if you get Fiend's Grip, John. Roshan, though, is still going to drop the Way of HellRaisers. So you give up the Tiny's life. You'll get the Aegis, the Way of Rebel. It's something. So the chase is on. Maposhka. Now he's going to be just fine. Mira will keep him protected with the sticky bomb. And John, I couldn't help but notice you giggled there. What's going on? In fact, hold that thought, because there is going to be a Dragon Tail coming out. So they are going to try indeed to go after the engine. Well, eventually they'll have him. Collapse. He will pick up the kill on the DK.
And it's again just...
oh, Yatoro.
Oh, no.
Oh, Yatoro gets caught with his pants down mid lane, John, and... I mean, it was a great kill on the Tiny earlier, but now you gave up your own Sven.
Yeah, and Watson's still having a better time overall in terms of farm build-up, although his itemization is stalling out. You know, going for the Moonshard means you don't get many in-between items. You're not getting the Echo Saber, you're not getting the Shadow Blade. The Shard gets delayed as well in comparison, so it's going to take a little bit longer to hit that spike for Watson, but they are doing a good job of just pressuring Yatoro. Like, he hasn't had that space to free farm as much as he'd want. He's had to share his farm with Collapse on Toronto Tokyo for them to hit those double blink spikes and into the double BKBs down the line, which is where TSpirit's line will really start to shine. Double, triple BKBs on their cores. That's where it gets a little bit dicey for the side of HellRaisers with 9-second spell immunity. Their heroes don't really deal with that all too well. You're not at the point where Tiny can just stand there, hit through that, not care. The damage output still isn't quite where you'd want it to be, even with a Moonshard up. So I think that's what TSpirit will have to play around. They have to be cautious about losing objectives. And for HellRaisers, it doesn't take too long. You've pointed out the Enchantress, the wards have been massive, and those wards are going to go off cooldown and Malady soon. With a protection of the Aegis here, for Rebel, they've got a lot of room to just apply that map pressure and take over that top chunk.
Top lane, Limitless, he's going to start the push onto that tier 2. Toronto Tokyo going to move right in with the Epicenter and Burrow Strike, but there are many heroes around to try and protect. Collapse, he'll jump in to follow. They've got Malady down. Rebel, he's still going to try and go for the fight, but it seems like they are lacking the damage. So they'll use the arena defensively just to be able to retreat. And with that, TSpirit, They're grouping up. They want to keep going. They know HellRaisers. They're hanging around that same area in the dire jungle. Courier is going to go downward. Should give that information back the way of HellRaisers, but the jump is in. They actually missed the Spear of Maposhka. He's going to walk out scot-free, and now they've got the Ember. That'll be your Aegis gone. Toronto Tokyo holding on to the Burrow Strike. Will time it perfectly right into the Fiend's Grip, and he's just going to explode. Can they get any more? It looks like they probably can. They've got the Ents trapped up. He's going to try and go for a bit of a run, but Sticky Bomb's going to be there, and he is going to be a very slow deer. It's a very nice venison there for Collapse.
He managed to get the kills they want, taking the 2 lives away from the Ember. Big issue for HellRaisers right now is that they're not able to play around with Watson. He does have the full moonshot up, but he's not able to contribute to these fights the same way that the rest of the team of TSpirit can. And they've got so much more jump angles. The moment they see the Arena Spear committed, it makes it very easy for Maposhka to just look for that grip, especially if they manage to zone out Limitless right now. And again, like we mentioned in draft, like my preference for HellRaisers is off the fact that for TSpirit, this is a nice draft. It takes a lot of execution. But this is the team that won TI. We're seeing that coordination kick in. HellRaisers getting caught off one by one. Not quite respecting that control. There's been really good vision here from TSpirit as well. That ward right behind the large camp spots out all the movements from HellRaisers, but this smoke might catch them off guard.
Toronto Tokyo, no, he's backed off perfectly. Limitless, again, gonna miss the spear, and second time in a row, he just has not landed it. Props to Toronto Tokyo, though, reading the map movement of HellRaisers, even with that smoke. He knew they were coming. And again, HellRaisers, they're gonna group up and try to go for the Tier 2 top tower push. Again, they are still within their own timing, but it just feels like they've fallen behind in net worth now. And TSpirit, they look like they want to fight. It's kind of hard to go into the Serpent wards, as they are going to scout out here with the Harpy. The Harpy scout's going to give all the vision, Jonathan. There's no way for Mirror to get out of this one. Or is there? He's still fighting. He'll go for a blast off, and it does land, but eventually will drop. As HellRaisers, they will be able to secure the top Tier 2 tower, no problem. TSpirit, they'll just have to accept it.
They still find a decent trade from TSpirit's end. I mean, it's a Tier 1 for Tier 2, but it is a Tier 1 mid that Collapse finds. So they kind of even out a little bit of that map control, open up the bot jungle a little bit more for Spirit to farm in. And despite all that aggression coming out from HellRaisers, despite all the map pressure, TSpirit still has the farming advantage. They are 3k up, they've got the kill lead, but it's really that farm that's concerning, because you are looking at that recovery for Yatoro. He has his Echo Saber, he has his Mask of Madness going into that BKB now.
Oh, Limitless gonna get caught out top lane again. Maposhka, he's just so good at hanging around that tree line, just waiting for someone to show up. Toronto Tokyo naturally gonna be there to follow up on the Sand King. That's just not great news for HellRaisers. Feels like every time you lose your offlane Mars like that, you kind of just halt the timing you're looking for. You can't keep being aggressive without him. You just can't find him into TSpirit without your Mars being available. So you've got to be very wary of that, I think. Because again, at some point, even though you and I don't have any faith in this Sven pick, it probably will work out. It is Yatoro after all. In fact, here we go again. Collapse. Gonna get stunned up into the follow-up, and he just gets blown up. Oh boy, Yatoro, he's hitting hard. There's one thing that hasn't changed on. Sven does still hit very hard when you pop that R button.
Yep, as long as God's strength's up, you can hit pretty damn hard. You match the Tiny, or at least eclipse the Tiny in that sense, at least until you get that talent up for the Tines to really hit hard. Level 15 talent's the big one. Until that point, not quite at that damage output you'd want. They've got that BKB ready on their Ember. It's just that popping it there is risky. Again, you have the Fiend's Grip to grow through that. HellRaisers will go for a smoke play. A lot of pressure in Limitless. Like, we've seen him whiff a couple of spears before. He needs to be able to land that arena combination to get that big initiation for HellRaisers. Have the follow-up with your Shadow Shaman. Blink not quite up for Melody. So it is tough to follow through from that mobility from Limitless, and I think that's what holds back HellRaisers right now. Whereas, again, compared to TSpirit with their double blink, it's just easier.
Well, they've got Mirror, at least catching out the techies. Mirror, somehow still alive with the Essence Ring, but eventually he is going to drop. HellRaisers, we'll see what they can get out of this, though. I mean, no Roshan available right now, and they'll know that. They can't go into the mid-tier 2 tower either, so they might just accept the time and just continue to farm up here on Watson. Again, they are still 5k behind in net worth, and even with the Tiny, that's not going to be a very good feeling here for HellRaisers. They certainly just have to take the time to keep that farm going.
Oh, God. I just realized.
Hold on, Jonathan. Limitless. He's been caught out again on the Mars, and we've talked about this. I mean, he's doing his job, but you can't afford to lose this Mars too many times.
No. Again, there's a lot of pressure on him to be the playmaker for HellRaisers at this point in the game. I want to go back to that little thing that didn't catch my eye when the draft came up, Mike. We are getting the Ags up for Mira. Reactive Taser on allies. Imagine that jump in with your Sand King, that jump in with your Sven, the jump in with your DK with the Reactive Taser on top.
Oh.
That is pretty scary. All right, so the Techies pick is really synergizing now, Mike.
Oh, no. So what you're telling me is this Techies hero is actually countering Tiny now. If you get the Axe up, you could just disarm him for 3.3 seconds. He can't do anything about it because he's not going for a BKB either, because Tiny's don't go for BKB anymore, John. They don't need to. In fact, he is now. It's still going to be a while away, though.
Yep. And again, you have a lot of ways of getting that Reactive Taser off. On Techies, it's a little bit harder to use well with a Blast Off, but with a Sand King, with a DK, with a Sven with Blink Up, it's really easy to find that big presence out. So HellRaisers has to be a bit cautious. 7k lead still stands for TSpirit. They've been playing this draft really well. Again, we had our doubts, but the execution has been showing. This is a team that won TI. You know, just a little caveat there. Like, this is a tough draft to pull off, but they have been coordinating well. That shift with the Sand King mid, Toronto Tokyo dominating that mid lane to an extent up against Rebel has been really strong. I think for HellRaisers, they've got to get their initiation lined up. TSpirit, though, are going for that smoke play.
Yeah, they're going to find the Ench first up. Him gone. Roshan has just spawned up. This could be terrible timing for HellRaisers. I don't know if Malady actually scouted up the Roche. He may have left the pit a bit too early. Oh, TSpirit, they're going to walk in. There is going to be a scan, though, so they are aware that this Roshan is currently happening, but HellRaisers, I don't know if they feel comfortable to go for the fight. They might just let it go. They still have 10 seconds away for their Ench to respawn. That's a little bit problematic here for HellRaisers and TSpirit. They're going to get away with it. A free Roshan to go the way of the Dire. In fact, Spirit are already setting up for the mid lane, trying to force a fight. There's your 5-man smoke up, broken by Toronto Tokyo, who pops the BKB. He wants to move in, but who's the target? Malady, he'll be the first one on the Shaman. Already gone. A Spirit, it looks like that might be it. They'll leave it be. No other target showing right now as they're going to miss another spear. Oh, they've missed another one. Arena down. Watson, he's looking for someone to hit, but no one around. He'll get stunned up. He does not have the BKB available quite yet. Still moving away, trying to retreat, but now Yatoro right on the backside. He's got the Tiny down. Collapse, he will drop, but they've got the Ember held up here by the Fiend's Grip as he's out of mana. He'll still charge up. They'll at least find the Aegis, though. Yatoro gonna lose that secondary life, or at least the first one. It's still a decent team fight, though, for TSpirit, John, and it only increases their net worth lead to 10k now.
I think we're seeing one way to handle the Tiny here, Mike. Just make sure he's not a factor in any of these fights. You finally see Watson show up to contribute. Before that point, he wasn't really helping his team in terms of securing these kills in comparison to Sven, who's just been working around the map, forcing the aggression, playing with his team when the aggression is on his jungle. Whereas for our Tiny's just been out of this game for a very long time trying to get that build-up with not much to show for it. We've been stuck at that Moon Shard. We do have the blink up for some mobility. The BKB is still a ways off. And until that BKB marker, it's just not going to feel great for Watson to jump in. Like, all the control, all the stuns have been on point from the side of TSpirit. And I don't want to sound like I'm picking on the guy, but Limitless has to find that initiation. He has the Lando Spears, but TSpirit's just been way too on point with their positioning and with their timing on BKB uses here.
No, Yatoro, or rather Toronto Tokyo, is going to BKB up and just TP right away as Malady did get a nice dust off, but not going to be enough. The BKB available, they cannot lock down the Sand King as mid lane. Currently being stared at here by Collapse. They don't have Fiend's Grip available, so it doesn't seem like they're going to try and make the jump in on the Ember. TSpirit, you can tell they feel confident right now just by the way they position. Looking for any target to find in the mid lane, especially if it is that Ember. Very, very patient from TSpirit, but it does seem like HellRaisers are going to move away from that side of the map. Thing is, TSpirit, they're going to go for a 4-man smoker. Toronto Tokyo right by the side as Rebel is going to react just in time. Collapse does not land the stun.
A flash of inspiration.
Yatoro still going to go for a bit of a chase, but doesn't have anything like a... Well, the blink was actually on cooldown, so he won't be able to close the gap. So the smoke amounts to nothing.
Don't quite find what they're looking for. This is some much needed space for HellRaisers. They're trying to shove in that top. They've got the threat for the Shadow Shaman wards, but the response is here from TSpirit.
It certainly is. They've already found the Shaman. See you later, Melody. Serpent wards were dropped, but they're just going to be farmed up here from TSpirit. And that was a... It seemed like a relatively desperate play from HellRaisers to go for that, I think. Like, yeah, Tiny specializes in being able to take tier 3 towers in like 2 seconds, but you didn't see anyone from TSpirit on the map. You can't just do that.
You got to respect that instant response. You have to respect the triple blink from TSpirit. Like triple blink, triple BKBs. These guys are just ready to fight every single time, ready to respond. It's starting to feel like this is the point where you kind of need to see a little bit more from Rebel. He's still a ways off from something like the Axe. He does have a Maelstrom from damage output, but...
Oh, we've got a Hurricane Pike available, but the disarm is there from Mira. Mira going for the D ward. Meanwhile, Yatoro does end up finding Limitless once again, as there is still a fight going on the backside on this edge. Mira is still surviving. He's going to walk away and actually tips over to the edge. As can they get the TP away?
Oh.
Not quite. Collapse. He's going to make it in time. Oh boy. The disarm comes in clutch.
And we're reaching that critical mass point, Mike. The Ags is not too far off for Mira. So reactive taser on his initiators. Almost like a supercharged Grimstroke Inkswell, isn't it? Like it's not it's not quite a full stun. I mean, it does have disarm and slow, but it is devastating in the middle of that, and I'm just keen to see how much it does. Like it feels like, you know, at the end of the day, this is not the fastest Ags timing, but, and you've been winning fights without it anyway, but it's pretty damn spicy, Mike. You know, again, not something you see every day, at least for us. And the HellRaisers, I mean, their lineup, again, it has so much in store for it. It's just they're not able to execute to that same level right now. We're just not seeing the chain stuns come through. We're not seeing that clean initiation they need to have onto backline. They haven't been able to stop a lot of these great grips Miposhka's been having from his positioning and his patience to realize when he can go for it in the middle of these fights. HellRaisers will go for a smoke. Not spotted out by any wards from TSpirit, but they don't have the best wards here from HellRaisers to really spot anyone out on the map either.
Yeah, they've got no vision. I mean, they can see the top tier 1 being pushed, and that'll give him enough information to try and sneak up from the backside. See if it does work out, though. Problem is, you do have the mines available. It's going to make it very obvious the smoke's happening, so TSpirit, they want to go for the fight. They're more than happy with the info they've been given for themselves from Mira. These proximity mines. One of the very annoying things is now the jump is there. Collapse, he'll be out. Spear, not going to land. The BKB was out in time from Collapse. They do take down Melody, and after Limitless they go. Rebel, he'll make the jump in. He'll try, but it's so much damage from Yatoro. Just taking them all out. Here comes the man fight. Watson on the Tiny, trying to be the real Sven, but he is not going to be it. Oh, they wiped them out. You know what, John? This Techie's hero might be kind of broken. Because if you could just spot out any smoke happening, it seems quite powerful.
It really is. It's holding HellRaisers back from finding any angle for these fights. They just haven't been able to find anything, and Melody just bails out right in the nick of time. Did buy back to get back into that fight, not really able to do much to save his Tiny. HellRaisers in a very awkward position now, Mike. They only have one outer tower left. They haven't been able to push as much for the draft as they'd want to. Their Tiny is not matching the farm pace we're seeing from Yatoro. It's just not there. You don't have that big hits coming out. You don't have a source of crit with Silver Edge or Daedalus. That's still a long ways off here for the Tiny. And Yatoro's just gotten all the space in the world to build up. Coming out from these really strong lanes. Like Techie's DK. I think that was the big foundation they had here for TSpirit. Just Dragon Tail stun into Sticky Bomb into Blast Off. It's just such a excruciating lane for HellRaisers. Like, yeah, you might not have stopped the Tiny all too much. You made that lane very uncomfy for him, and you just made these fights really uncomfy as well. They will go for a smoke on HellRaisers, but again, they've got to find that initiation here.
Smoke on smoke situation. John Rebel going to be spotted out first. There's the blinking collapse. He's a bit too early, but Toronto Tokyo on the backside already finding the Tiny. Malady, he's the real target. Rebel's down. Malady's down as well. This doesn't look like the team fight. HellRaisers, they need to back off right here, right now, but Yatoro, he's all over Watson. There goes your Tiny. No buyback available. They just call it. GG, and immediate disconnects to come out from HellRaisers. I think Watson was not too happy about this game one, John. And I'll tell you what, with a draft like what TSpirit came up with, I wouldn't be happy either.
Yeah, I mean, sort of left field with the techies. Again, Teary crafting, there is a lot to play with a Dragon Tail stun setup for Sticky Bomb for Blast Off. Just a very excruciating lane. HellRaisers looked like they had really good map control early on. You know, they managed to siege a tier 1 mid. They managed to apply that pressure onto top, take over the jungle a bit. But TSpirit, with those great ward placements, those great mine placements out from Mira, cutting off any of the angles. And HellRaisers, for their part, it didn't feel like the cleanest game from them. You know, the execution wasn't as strong as we wanted to see. We didn't see the big initiations they wanted to. TSpirit were just a step ahead. They were always aware of when HellRaisers was looking for that angle in, was looking for that initiation, and they were just always ready to cut them off. And when that opportunity doesn't present itself for HellRaisers, in comparison, TSpirit, they only needed blinks up on 2 of their cores. Right? Like DK blink, Sand King blink, that was enough to get the snowball going, and they just played around those combinations really well. And again, just executing on level that it didn't look like HellRaisers were able to match at all.
Certainly a very enjoyable game. As well, there you go. At the bottom there, John, we have Sven at home. Tiny's now the one saying it. So there you go. Sven, apparently not too bad right now. I think, you know what, John, after that game one, maybe Tiny needs a buff. Maybe that's what we've learnt from this game one. Maybe Tiny just needs a +1 armor. Maybe make shards be available at 10 minutes, perhaps. Like, what do you think, John? Can we buff him a little bit? No?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right.
Time.
Well, with that, John, we are going to head to a very short break. And of course, right after that break, we're going to be back with Game 2's draft between HellRaisers and TSpirit. We'll see you then.